Here's an idea so old it feels like a law of nature. Print more money and prices go up. Governments that ran the printing press, Weimar Germany, Zimbabwe, ended with wheelbarrows of cash and bread that cost $1 billion. So the case looks closed. But the last 15 years put that idea on trial, and the evidence is stranger than either side will tell you. Let's start with the claim at its strongest. More money, chasing the same goods, means each dollar buys less. Simple, intuitive, and history has some brutal examples to back it up. Now the defense calls its first witness. 2008. The financial crisis hits, and the Federal Reserve does something it had never done at this scale. It creates money to buy bonds, quantitative easing. Watch the Fed's balance sheet. From under $1 trillion to $4.5 trillion by 2015, roughly $3.5 trillion conjured into existence. If printing money causes inflation, this should have been catastrophic. So, what happened to prices? Almost nothing. Look at inflation across those same years. It averaged about 1.5%. In 2015, it briefly went negative. Deflation. The Fed printed trillions, and the great inflation never came. For a decade, the claim looked dead. So, why didn't it happen? Because printed money only pushes up prices if it's actually spent, and this money wasn't. It landed in the banking system as reserves, sitting at the Fed, earning interest. It never reached your wallet. Economists measure this with velocity, how fast a dollar changes hands. And velocity was collapsing. Money that doesn't move can't bid up prices. Case closed? Not so fast. Because in 2020, the prosecution gets its moment. The pandemic hits, and this time the response is different. The Fed prints again, but now the government sends money straight to people. Stimulus checks, business loans, watch the money supply. It grows almost 27% in a single year, the fastest increase ever recorded in American history, and this time the money moved. It went into bank accounts and got spent, into an economy where factories were shut, ships were stuck, and shelves were empty. Too much money, chasing too few goods, the exact condition the theory describes. And about a year later, the bill arrived. Inflation hit 9%, the highest in 40 years. So the claim is true after all? Here's the twist that settles it. Watch what the money supply did next. In 2022 and 23, it did something it had not done since the 1930s. It shrank. The first sustained fall in the money supply since the Great Depression. And within about a year, inflation fell too, from 9% back toward 3. Put the two eras side by side and the pattern is clear. It was never just how much money existed. It was whether that money reached people's hands, how fast they spent it, and whether there were enough goods to buy. In 2009, the money sat still. In 2020, it ran. Now, let me be honest about the limits. This is a handful of episodes, not a law. Interest rates, expectations, oil prices, and government spending all push on inflation too. And velocity is partly just the number that makes the equation balance. It describes what happened more than it explains why. Anyone who tells you money and prices move in a clean fixed ratio is selling certainty that the data doesn't support. So here's the verdict on the evidence. Printing money does not automatically cause inflation. A decade of quantitative easing proved that. But when new money reaches people fast enough to be spent against a wall of limited supply, it can, and it did. Money growth is a suspect worth watching. It is not always the culprit. The evidence convicts velocity, delivery, and supply. This is educational, not financial advice. Do your own research. I'm Cash on Trial, where we put the claim on the stand and let the data decide.